You know, just to think a little bit deeper about why one would want to work with an intermediary specifically, I think it's a very complicated market. It's a very complicated process. There's a lot of ways to misstep and to be honest with you, to kind of mess things up along the ways. A lot of people say, you know what, I have a really good lawyer, or I have a lawyer I've trusted for a long time, I have a really good accountant that really knows my business. I think I can work through them because, hey, the lawyers, they know the law and they know how to do M&A transactions, and the accountants, you know, they know my business and they're financial people, and they'll be able to talk to financial people like you guys. And that really is while there's clearly a role for the attorney, there's clearly a role for the accountant, particularly if you have very high quality people associated who have done transactions before. A very important role of the intermediary, and that is to tell your story, to tell it in a way that's going to reverberate in the marketplace, present your business well, get the important information across in a comprehensive but also in an easily read, easily digestible way, and then to be there throughout the process to deal with questions and to deal with a lot of the intricacies that go into getting buyer and seller together, seller over a lot of the issues that sellers have to encounter, due diligence, the meeting with the various buyers, the vetting of the various buyers, the considering of various offers. You know, there's a great deal of complexity. If you've not done it before, and even if you have done it before, you ought to use an intermediary. I mean, we're very active buyers for many, many years. It is very rare that we would take one of our companies to market, even if we think we know the seller. You know, even if someone's approached us and said, we really want to buy your Acme Corp. We think Acme's a perfect fit for us. It's very rare that we will have that conversation with that prospective buyer without an intermediary involved. I won't say we never do it, but I will tell you that it's very rare, and that by far our preferred process of selling a business involves having a very professional, thoughtful process specific to the specific company situation. Every company is different and every sale process ought to be different, but specific to that situation, handled by a high-level professional intermediary. While we're on the subject of just, you know, sort of the selling process and you know, decision to make to put your company on the market, to try to find a good home, a good buyer for it, people struggle with this all the time. We struggle with it because, remember, we're business owners too. And really the answer is you need to make sure that if you can, that when you take your business to market, that you can make a very good case for why the business will continue to grow and will continue to have upside from where it is today. That's probably the most important thing for you to consider. Investors like growth stories, and they like momentum inside of a business. So for example, if what you're saying is, you know, I would really like to spend some more time doing things other than running the business someday, and I don't necessarily have either family in place or a succession plan that's obvious in place that where I think I can pass the business on. You want to kind of decide to do that well before you're ready to retire. Now, it doesn't have to be 20 years before you're ready to retire, but it shouldn't be 6 months either. A buyer is going to want to see the main owner-operators, the main executives running the business continue with the business. Now, we buy businesses all the time where we know the folks who are selling are going to leave. They are going to retire. They are going to work themselves out. It's very normal. And that's a process that a lot of buyers are very used to. To get the most value for your business, you ought to be thinking about driving that business all the way through the selling process and into the future, so that when buyers come in and look at the business, what they're going to see is a company that is still growing, that is still becoming more profitable, that still has momentum, that still has management that will continue. And at some future point, there will be a changeover. There'll be a new guard. There'll be a younger group or whatever coming in to take the business over. That's natural and that's ideal. But to have that continuing momentum in the business is critical. And therefore, a lot of buyers, and I'm sure you're aware of this, have a tendency to not make the decision early enough to get involved in the sale process. Shouldn't just jump into it just because you think it's a good time. If you're peaking or whatever and you say, if I sell right now, my all-time best year no matter what, that probably isn't necessarily the right answer either. It's all about continuing momentum and growth. A lot of people say, what's a small niche leader? And a lot of people say, well, give me some examples of the kinds of businesses you've acquired. Now, keep in mind, well over 60 businesses, well over 30 platform companies in history. We invest in a lot of different things. But to give you a feel for some of them, a good example, we had the largest for-profit secondary education business, trade school business in the Southeast, a company called Virginia College. Nice business, but a real niche, and again, geographically focused. Not the biggest company in the industry, but the most important in the markets that it served. To give you an even more specific example, we currently own, one of our platform companies is called Spirit Food Service Products. Well, what's interesting about Spirit is it's the largest producer of swizzle sticks in North America. So if you go into a bar and you get a drink and it says Jim Beam on it or Bacardi or the name of the restaurant on it, pretty good odds it came out of our facility. If you go into McDonald's and you order a cup of coffee and you stir your drink, it's almost certain that you're doing it with a Spirit drink store. So, you know, real niche products, we call it the giggle factor. We have products like that in our portfolio all the time. We like companies that have a very good sense of and have, in a sense, an ownership position in their marketplace, as opposed to companies that are small players in a marketplace. The other thing, just to kind of give you a feel for the things we tend not to acquire, and this is a big part of the economy out there, but process industries. Example would be maybe a steel service center or a company that is a build-to-print parts manufacturer, classic being, say, a contract injection molder. Great businesses to own, great businesses for families to own, great cash flow businesses. They tend not to be businesses that investors like ourselves, certainly prospect partners, is drawn to. So our portfolio is very broad. It encapsulates service businesses, it encapsulates manufacturing businesses, commercial products, consumer products, distribution businesses. It's a long list, but what really makes them, what really sort of binds them all together is this notion of small niche leaders.
Okay.
You know, a lot of people ask us, well, let's say you invest in my business, or let's say you acquire our company. You know, what can we expect? How are things going to be different? What's going to be different? And one thing I can tell you with certainty is it won't be the same. It never is. Anytime a business is sold and there's a change of ownership, there are some changes. They happen very often to be good, by the way, but there are some changes. We are anxious to have our businesses grow. When we buy, and as active as we are, more or less, we're paying a full fair market price for the business. We're not out overpaying. We're not out, finding bargains. We're more or less finding things we like and paying, a full fair market price for them. So for us to do well with those, really what we have to do is grow them. And the way we're compensated ultimately is increasing the value of the common stock of the company, right? If the value of the stock goes up, we as prospect partners and the individuals within the firm, that's how we are able to get paid, and hopefully when we're right, it works out really well. Very important within that, of course, our management team members are compensated the same way. They have stock in the company just like we do. Their compensation, their upside, their incentive is driven by increasing the value of the common stock. So how will things change? Things will become more focused on growing the value of the common stock of the company, and that's all-encompassing. That's everything that we do. Do we come in and manage your business on a day-to-day basis? Absolutely not. Not only are we not capable, we don't have time. That's not our job. Our job is to invest our money well and back good people and put proper incentives in place so that they will go out and do the things that we're talking about, increase value. But we will meet from time to time, quarterly board meetings typically at the company. We'll have a lot of conversations on the phone. There'll be monthly financial packages that the company develops over time that works for the company that will be sent out not only to us but to the lenders. And one thing that I think distinguishes the relationship that we have and other buyers like us, but certainly prospect partners, I like to tell people we receive a lot more phone calls from our companies, typically the CEOs, but also the CFOs and others. We receive a lot more of those phone